Technology will not replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers can be transformational. Any sufficiently advanced technology is equivalent to magic. Hello and welcome to Rabbi Rashi Foundation. Learn digital technologies relevant to Industry 4.0. So we have the founder of Makers.com, Mr. Mohit Jain. He has designed a platform for children between 13 to 18 years, already with 4 global patents in artificial intelligence. Mohit Jain is passionate about machine learning and artificial intelligence. आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है मोहित जी.
Thank you very much.
So, who is Mohit Jain, the founder of Makers? What is your company all about? Over to you.
So as far as I'm concerned, I have been an IT professional for the last about 25 to 30 years and have done a whole series of development of technologies which are relevant to artificial intelligence and machine learning. As far as Makers.com is concerned, Makers.com creates learning experiences for school children where they solve common problems of making digital devices. Now, I'll just explain what we mean by digital devices. So a digital device is something which typically has a sensor, a microprocessor, and a responder. Now, let's take a common problem which is there around us. If you look at streetlights, what you would really want is that the streetlight should come up exactly when they should, which means when it's becoming dusk or late in the evening. And similarly, as soon as it is bright and early in the morning, the light should switch off. So we help children make a digital device which would have a sensor like this. So this is a light dependent resistor. This senses the amount of light which is available in the environment around you. This information in turn is passed over to a microprocessor. The microprocessor decides whether you should switch it on or switch it off. And what it does is it switches on or switches off this LED. And the LED is called as a responder. So there are today about 30 billion such smart devices, and these are going to grow to maybe around 75 billion devices by 2025, completely defining and redefining the world which we will inhabit in the future.
Now, this is a great show coming up, I guess, because we've not had somebody from the artificial intelligence speaking on our platform and giving away all the knowledge. That's wonderful, Mohitji. I think Makers is based on a particular approach. So let's talk about that.
Right. So typically what we see in schools is that you have departments of different subjects, right? So you have a department of science, maybe a department of physics, a department of chemistry, a department of mathematics, a department of biology. And the way the entire thing is structured is that a student enters into a particular class, he learns a particular subject for a period of 1 hour, then moves over to another subject for another 1 hour, and moves over to something else for some other duration of time. Now, there's nobody who's sitting over there and telling him, how do this physics and chemistry and maths and biology work together? There's nobody over there to connect the dots. And typically, when you're trying to solve a problem in real life, you don't solve problem by specializing in one particular domain. So typically, teams get together, the teams are interdisciplinary in nature, and therefore, they're able to actually go ahead and solve the problem. So even in our case, by the example which I gave to you, that of a smart light, now, in the course of making a smart light, the child is made to learn physics. He's made to learn chemistry in this case. He's made to learn about what a sensor is, what is a microprocessor, what is a responder, what is programming, and finally, how do you make the entire thing into a nice, lovely, creative expression. So this is essentially what we mean by an interdisciplinary approach, where you are talking about a problem, you're talking about a solution, and in order to arrive at the solution, you are stitching multiple disciplines together to come to it.
Tell us more about different wonderful courses you are offering at Makers, and how are you devising each course?
So as far as the learning environments, this is what we call them a concern. There are 3 of them. First, there is Make Digital Devices, which is essentially for children between the age of 13 and 14. Then we have Make Connected Devices, which is meant for children between 14 and 15. And then finally, we have Make Smart Devices, which is for children between 15 and 16. Now, in Make Digital Devices, we essentially teach children how to make different things like the smart light, a heartbeat monitor, a smart dustbin, or a burglar intrusion detection system, and different kinds of robots. In Make Connected Devices, we tell them how to connect these devices together using Bluetooth or radio or Wi-Fi or near field control or infrared. And finally, in this Make Smart Devices, we tell children how to make sense of the data which is being generated by these devices, which have now been connected together using machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now, for each one of these learning environments, we actually provide the child with a physical kit, which contains all the sensors, the microprocessor, the responders, the connecting cables, the creative kit, just about everything which is required to make the entire project, the set of projects. The second thing, obviously, what we do is that all the learning material and all the build instructions are made available in an online learning platform. And then we also have a 24/7 support through online forums, emails, and live interactive Zoom sessions. Since we have been in the business for quite some time, that is, at least in the business of digital technology, though not education, we understand what technologies are popular, relevant, and growing. So we scan the market, we figure out statistics and various other analytics which have been done by by different experts in terms of what digital technologies are making a difference to real life. Then we ask ourselves that if we were to teach the digital technology, will it serve as a basic building block, like the letters of an alphabet, so that it can be combined with other digital letters and allow the child to make a completely unique story? Before we decide upon the projects more specifically, we first ask ourselves, is there a real problem which is well understood by the child, and does it demand a solution? The second thing which we ask is, do we have a smart digital solution to the problem using these popular digital letters? And finally, will the learner be able to make it, given the fact that we are talking of children between 13 and 16? And will he be able to understand the science and the technology behind it? So these are considerations which essentially drive, what projects our children will do and what they will not do.
Mohit, we've had people on our platform who have spoken a lot about STEM education. So is this different from STEM, or if this is same like STEM, then what is the USP of Makers?
STEM is a broad field of education which is essentially covering science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Now, what we have seen in the market is that people offer kits in the name of offering a STEM course. Fine. So you can go to the market, you can pick up a whole bunch of components which are assembled inside the kit. There are assembly instructions, and hence you are able to make a project, make a second one, make a third one, and so on. Now, the problem over there is that essentially what is happening is that you're getting assembly skills or making skills alone. And hence, it would be very similar to ending up with the skills of a carpenter. And there is a difference between being a carpenter and an interior designer. And it's the interior designer who's essentially thinking about spaces, thinking about people, understanding how people are going to interact with spaces, and hence what has to go into it. So if you want to become an interior designer, then you need to understand the science and the technology behind these STEAM kits. And if you don't, then you will end up as a good maker, but you will not end up as an innovator.
Yeah, this is something which I wanted to know, that what is the difference, because there is so much happening in the world of education now. Please tell us about the great team and how are they adding more value to Makers?
Okay. Now, since we are working on a concept which is completely different and not really being practiced widely as far as the country is concerned, for instance, you will not actually find a single STEAM curriculum, right? You will, as I said, you will find kits, you will find projects which people can build, but you don't have something which is designed in a manner to impart education and hence the ability to innovate as far as the child is concerned. Now, in order to develop a complex offering like this, we have a team of people who have very diverse skill sets. So on one hand, we have the design thinking experts who decide on which kind of problems need to be solved as far as the child is concerned, which sensors, which microprocessor, which responders should be used, and what is the best way to present the learning content for children. Then we have a set of engineers who are essentially proficient in physical computing, in digital communications, and artificial intelligence, who actually build the projects and create the course material. Then we have a set of experienced designers who define the overall experience of a learner and define more specifically what mode of an artifact is ideal for learning for a school child. And finally, we have the content designers who actually make creative content like 3D models of all our components, videos, animations, and they're also, of course, responsible for branding.
Now, that's a super talented team, I think, with Makers, and the way you've explained this is absolutely very informative. What makes Makers unique as a great product in the market?
Okay, the first thing really is about the course content, which is all around making digital devices and connecting them and mining information generated by them. This is something which is called as the domain of physical computing. The second thing is the learning methodology, where we are using the make to learn or the experiential method of problem solving. And finally, the fact that we have the ability to nurture children and help them make new things through challenge projects and contests.
So, you being the founder and the CEO of Makers, what personalized touch your experience for so many years of working you've given to Makers?
Right from the time that I was a child, I loved breaking things apart. So, in fact, as far as my mother is concerned, she would always say that every Sunday, whenever he would go out with us, he would demand a toy, he would demand a car in particular. The moment we reached home, he would take the car, sandwich it between the edges of a door, and crush it wide open. Now, initially, this was construed as being a very destructive behavior. But perhaps later on, I understood that, well, I was not really trying to destroy something which I wanted so desperately for a whole week, right? I was basically destroying it. I was trying to take it apart and I was trying to see what are the different components inside. Why is it that if I swing a car back, then it acquires energy and then I release it and it releases the energy and makes the entire car go forward? So, from my own personal perspective, I have found that it is extremely important to nurture the creativity and curiosity of a child. And that is something which we tend to lose as we step through a formal, maybe school mechanism or a regimented work environment. We tend to lose our curiosity. Our curiosity is killed. We are not encouraged to ask questions. Questions are considered to be out of syllabus and stuff like that. And then on top of it, you're not really allowed to experiment. You're not allowed to fail. You're not allowed to learn from your mistakes because anything, anywhere where you're non-conforming, and failure is obviously a non-conformance. So when you fail as an individual, right, and therefore you are non-conformant as an individual, you're scolded. You're not, on the other hand, given an opportunity to learn as to what you can from that particular failure. So these were certain aspects of how, learnings which we have incorporated into the entire course. And we tell the child, in fact, deliberately on certain occasions to make mistakes. Then we tell them precisely what is a mistake that they have made and why it would never work that way, because that seems to be an intuitive way of functioning. So imagine if you actually have a curriculum which is teaching you how to make mistakes and then how to learn from mistakes, and then actually pursuing the right path so that you can solve the problem which you have set out to.
Good technology is disruptive. Technology is not just a tool, it gives learners a voice that they may not have had before. That is what Mohit is trying to tell to all our connections and all our viewers. Adding to this, I want to tell everyone Mohit Jain, the founder and CEO of Makers, is also an associate for STREE, a new initiative for the Women's Day, International Women's Day, 8th of March.
So thank you very much, Rashi, for giving us an opportunity to be on your platform. It has been an absolute pleasure and an absolute delight to be with you. And we really look forward to working with children, and particularly the initiative which you've launched, this 3 initiative, and encouraging young girls and young women to look forward to tomorrow.